So if we hit a low launch shaft, a mid launch shaft, and a high launch shaft, how much difference in the data would we actually expect to see? How much of it is marketing and how much of that actually translates into real world differences? Today we're going to find out because I've got the brand new 2024 Velocore Plus Ventus Red, Blue, and Black. So the high launch, mid launch, and low launch variant of these shafts. And we're touching on the design features, the bend profiles, how they differ to the 2018 model, checking the playing flex of each of these new shafts to see how they stack up against each other from an overall playing flex perspective, giving you my feedback on each of these shafts, and of course an in-depth dive into the data, looking at ball speed, launch, spin, peak height, angle of descent, dispersion, any patterns that I pick up on, the differences of these shafts, and at the end obviously touching on what is a driver shaft for, like what are we actually looking for when we're doing a driver shaft fitting, all that to come. So let's jump in. So we're jumping straight into the big boy, the Ventus Black, the stiffest bend profile, designated low launch, low spin. We'll dive into that more in depth later. Specs wise, they're all going to be 6x, so black, blue, and red, all 6x, all going to be 45-inch playing length. They're all going to have the same grip, which weirdly I've been playing around with a Win dry tack, less taper, oversize. Quite liking it actually. And obviously we'll be keeping the head the same throughout the entire test, which is the tightest GT2 9-degree head turned down to 8. Come back. Oh, it's trying. It's a good strike. It's a really good strike, that. Oh no. Oh, that was tight. Yeah, absolute slack bang out the middle. I could not strike that any better. 20 yards right, so it was a little bit of a push. In fairness, 12.7 launch, 2,000 spins. So a bit edgy on the spin side. Basically the same shot. What a fraction more of a push in all fairness, which is unusual. That's not my shot at all. Again, very good strike. 12.7 launch, 2.2 backspin. Obviously, there's a little bit more of a push there. 26 yards right, so the spin comes up fractionally. I must say, it actually feels really nice. Again, for the designated kind of stiffest profile, the low launch, low spin beast, the Black 6X, actually feels really nice. Now, there's a reason for that, which we'll touch on again later, something they've added within this new range of 2024 Velocore Plus shafts. But yeah, I really do like the feel. That felt really good. That was a great strike. It's a bit toasty, but to be honest, that's probably me just playing an 8-degree head and actually trying to play a little bit of a draw. As normally I would play a bit of a fade. Yeah, again, great strike. Yeah, 10 launch, just a bit under 2,000 backspin. But yeah, I mean, that's mega efficient. 166 ball speed from 114 club speed. That 146 there, mega efficient. So why don't we jump back into the workshop? We'll touch on the profile, we'll touch on the playing flex, and we'll touch on any changes that they've made to this new model. So the 2024 Black, like overall, not that much has changed really in terms of it's still designed to be the lowest launching, lowest spinning shaft in the Ventus lineup. Again, whether it is or not, we'll see later when we take an in-depth look at the data, but still designated low launch, low spin, and still designated bend profile, very similar to the previous TR and the 2018 in terms of Fujikura saying ultra stiff in the butt section, stiff in the midsection, and ultra stiff in the tip sections. Overall, still designed to do a very similar thing. Couple of subtle tweaks, you know, with the addition of the Velocore Plus, so the kind of tightening up, the strengthening up of that multi-material bias core. The Black is actually a tiny bit softer in the handle. So what they tried to do really with this lineup, as you'll see as we go through, they tried to make it a little bit more active, a little bit more lively feeling, while still maintaining that kind of consistency and stability as well. So this a little bit softer in that handle section than previous generations, especially this one. I've got this in here for a reason. We know where the TR, where they added that spread toe fabric into the handle section just to firm up that handle a little bit more in this model. These do play quite different as we are about to see. So the reason I've got the TR in here, so just give us a little bit of a baseline as we go through. I'm going to be frequency testing the black, blue, and red to compare against each other. But to give you a baseline, this is the TR Black 6X. Now, if we frequency test this, this essentially gives us an overall kind of playing flex of the shaft. Just give us an idea. If we keep the head the same, which is the tightest head, which I'm going to be testing with today, so 275, 276, 275, 275, one for luck, 275. Okay, so the Ventus Black TR6X is playing 275 cycles per minute. So it's 275 times that would twang back and through that laser essentially. Now, that's giving us a bit of an overall playing flex of the shaft. Just to give you an idea, about 10 cycles per minute is about one flex. So 275 in the X, if we put the S on here in the TR Black, it'd be about 265. If I pop that out of there, pop the head off of there onto this shaft, and then clamp the new Ventus Black in here. So the TR Black 6X 275, this is playing 269, 269, 269, 268. So 268, 269, do it again, 268, one more, 268. So we'll say 268 to 275. So that's 7 cycles per minute less than the TR. So that's like sort of 3/4 of a flex overall, that's playing softer than the TR. So yeah, playing noticeably softer than the TR, which is also still a current offering. Like this has replaced the 2018 model Ventus. The TR is still current, and Fujikura is saying essentially the TR is a slightly lower launching, slightly lower spinning model than this 2024 Velocore Plus, which kind of makes sense. It is a firmer overall playing flex. It definitely feels firm, and that was one of the things that surprised me a lot about this new Ventus lineup, especially the blue, which we'll touch on later. What they've tried to do is make it feel still stable and obviously still consistent and still react really consistently with Velocore Plus, but make it almost like a little bit livelier, a little bit more active. And I actually think they've done a really good job. That was pretty good. A little bit hard on the face, but that is going to get out there. Probably a bit of a low spinner. But yeah, and it is noticeable. Definitely that TR is a firmer, stouter, like almost heavier, denser feeling shaft than this new Ventus. And if you all know me, have been following me for a little while, you know I like a little bit more feel, a little bit more activity in the shaft, but it generally helps me time it a little bit better. And yeah, I actually feel this is a really good additional offering in the Ventus lineup. That felt good. That felt really good. Yeah. Yes, good numbers. It's a touch on the low spin side. Now, again, it's so intriguing how this has kind of worked out. I haven't really planned it that way, but again, good strike. It's coming around that sort of 2000, like very low 2000 spin. So if someone come in for a shaft fit in and gone, yeah, I love the GT2 head, really, really like it, spinning a little bit low, we might go, oh, let's try Ventus Red, higher launching, higher spinning. So let's try it. So into the red, again, the higher launching, higher spinning shaft in this lineup. Again, we'll touch on bend profile more in depth in a minute and check playing flex. So again, 45-inch playing length, the red 6X, 45-inch, same grip, same head, just plug straight on, GT2, 9 degree, turned down to 8. That was interesting. I actually felt a little bit low initially, but I don't think it was. No, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. Pretty good strike. Yeah, bang out the middle. 2000 spin. It's interesting. I was trying to gauge a bit of a feel, but certainly nothing noticeable standing out straight away. Again, I think that was pretty good. Maybe a mil or so low, but again, got out there. Yeah, good numbers. Good numbers. Maybe a mil low. Yeah, 5 mil low. So again, when we compare that to the center strike that we had earlier, okay, the very first one, the face was fractionally more close and it's about 5 mil higher up in the face. I mean, all these little things, they make a big, big difference. Just right trying to get comparative data, whether it be heads or shafts, is so incredibly hard. So great shot, 5 mil low, again, 2.2 backspin, 12.3 launch. Again, it's good numbers. So let's jump into the workshop and have a little chat about the red. So the red, again, theoretically, not that much has changed in terms of Fujikura still saying this is the highest launching, highest spinning shaft in the Ventus lineup. The reason being for that is obviously it's softer midsection down into tip section when we compare it to the black and the blue. But again, from a bend profile perspective, not that much really changing, where Fujikura is saying this is still ultra stiff in the handle section. Very comparable to the black in the handle section, so very, very firm in the handle section. But then as we come down into the mid and tip section, it's kind of firm designation and stiff designation as opposed to ultra stiff in the blue and the black. So softer mid and softer tip section, which should be giving us that more kick as we come through impact, adding a little bit of loft, and therefore that's what's creating that higher launch and higher spin. So again, not much change. Interestingly, similar to the black, you know, the new black versus the old black, a little bit softer in the butt section. This is the same. So when we compare this to the 2018 Ventus Red, a little bit softer in that handle section, again, trying to promote that little bit more feel. Now, if we check the CPM of this, give that a little twang, it is 267. Now remember, the Ventus Black was 268 from an overall playing flex perspective. This is 267. So really, 267. Not that much different to the black at all. It's going to be interesting to see if I can feel from a swing perspective if it does feel a lot more active down there. But again, this being a sort of butt clamp CPM reader, it's not going to give us the most accurate of reading as like, you know, tip and midsection because it's clamped at the butt. But the reason I do like this is because we hold it at the butt, so it gives us a really good idea of how this shaft is actually going to play as a profile and how it's going to feel, really. So actually how this is playing in terms of overall playing flex, very similar to the black. So now talking bend profile and checking overall playing flex makes perfect sense to me of why initially, as soon as I picked this up, I couldn't feel any difference whatsoever. It really feels, it feels very much the same as the black, in all honesty. I can't, even though this is the softer tip profile, again on the scale of like shafts, although this is designated in the Ventus lineup to be a softer tip profile, it's not a soft tip. It's still quite a firm tip. So when I pick it up and I kind of try and give it a waggle, give it a feel, it does still feel very firm in the handle section, so it feels stiff up here. I mean, it might feel the tiniest fraction softer down there, but if I'm being brutally honest, when I'm swinging it, I personally can't really feel any difference. I think that was just a bit toey. Yeah, fraction out the toe. Tell you what, I'd take it though. Yeah, fraction out the toe. Again, we see that face probably fractionally too close to the path, really. So 25 yards offline, not a disaster, probably be okay. Spin comes down again to just sub 2,000. So yeah, again, from the first few shots we really sim with this, we're in a shaft fitting now and I'm trying to get that spin up. I mean, I know it's a bit stupid because I got the loft turned down on this, but you'd obviously turn the loft up. But purely from a shaft fitting perspective, it's not really adding much spin, is it? That felt, again, really good. Yeah, still carrying around that 290. It's kind of still very forward, kind of penetrating flight. Certainly ain't spinning up. Again, it's the same numbers. Bang, I mean, literally could not get any more out of the middle. 11 yards offline, so it's a pretty straight drive. 12 launch, 2,000 spin. So yeah, I mean, initial numbers wise, we'll take a deeper dive later when I'll hit loads of shots, not on camera, so this isn't like a 4-hour long video. We'll take a deep dive into the data later, but initial kind of feedback on feel, not loads, and even numbers, not loads. So jumping into the new Velocore Plus Blue, again, so this designated as kind of like the mid-flight profile. Mid-launch, low spin, again, we'll touch more on kind of bend profile and playing flex in a little bit. Specs-wise, exactly the same. So we've got the Blue 6X, 45-inch playing length, exactly the same grip, exactly the same head, GT2, 9-degree playing 8. That's interesting. Again, felt like a good strike, just didn't quite square the face, just a bit of a push. Still 290 carry, I mean, that's still pretty strong for a push. Yeah, good strike, just didn't quite kind of close the face. Again, path was out to the right and the face was dead square. 14.7 launch, 2489 backspin, so launch and spin comes up. Is it because of the shaft? No, it's because I pushed it. But yeah, definitely straight away there is some feel difference. Come back. It's coming. It's coming. It's a little bit kind of high toe, in all honesty. All honesty, yes, that did pop up the launch a little bit, which again I think was a bit more strike than it was anything else. We see there 15.5 launch, 2.2 backspin, a little bit out of the toe. Again, probably not been overly comparable to some of the others that I've hit so far with the rest, but yeah, still good numbers and a good drive. But yeah, definitely some feel differences. So let's jump into the workshop and find out why. So the Blue, again, theoretically not that much has changed in terms of Fujikura still saying this is their mid-flighted profile, designated as mid-launch low spin. Again, we shall see. And from a rough bend profile perspective, again, not that dissimilar to the original 2018 in terms of firm designation in the handle section, so the softest handle section from any Ventus shaft. So firm, stiff down into the midsection, and ultra stiff down into the tip section. So it really would lead you to believe that the midsection down into the tip section is very similar to the black, when actually it's not. It's been made a little bit softer in the tip section this year when we compare it to the 2018 model. So it's different to the red and the black, in that in the red and the black, the butt section had been made a little bit softer, whereas the blue, butt section is the same, tip is actually a little bit softer. So I'm really expecting this to be playing overall as one of the softest Ventus shafts, to be honest with you, having a softer butt section and now a slightly softer tip section than the black as well. So if we give it a little twang, bad run, perfect, just what we want. Try again, 259, wow, that's a lot softer, isn't it? 259, 259. So that overall, I mean, that's playing, the black was what, 268? 250, that's basically a whole flex that it's kind of overall playing. Well, it's going to feel really in the hand, basically a whole flex softer. So it's going to be really interesting to see how it feels and what the data says. So again, that makes perfect sense as to why going from the black to the red, I couldn't maybe feel that much. But now coming from the red into this, I can feel a lot. So much softer up in that top handle section of the shaft, where we're going to feel most of the shaft, and it's just noticeable as soon as you pick it up. And because it is softer in here, it almost makes it feel softer going down into the tip section. I know that it is stiffer than the red in the tip section, but it just overall just feels that little bit more active as a shaft when compared to the red and the black, which, to be honest, I actually really like. That was high on the face, and that might go miles. Yeah, not miles, but it's okay. Again, not a comparable strike. So I was 8mm high on the face, and the face was fractionally more closed. We see that spin drop to 1760 revs. Now this is really, I mean, this is kind of a really good example, to be honest, flicking through these different profiles, showing you these different shots in terms of different deliveries and different strikes. People underestimate how much different 4 to 5 mil of strike in the face can make to launch and spin. So when you're really trying to, you know, if you say a shaft makes 100 revs of difference, you're saying that to a handicap golfer who hits it 4 mil there, 4 mil there, 4 mil there, 4 mil there, which is perfectly normal and actually not bad. You're talking the margins are nothing. Nope. Again, it's a good drive, but it weren't out in the middle. They're all carrying around sort of 290. It didn't really seem to matter where I strike it on the face, apparently. Yeah, just living a little bit in that high toe, but again, it's great numbers. 14 launch, 2-2 backspin. I mean, that's brilliant numbers. That felt better. That felt better. It's got miles. Yeah, again, low spin. It was fractionally high, maybe. Yeah, again, I mean, you're talking. Again, most people look at that and go, that's really good. And it was what, 3 mil high, 5 mil toe. So pretty damn good. And again, a similar drawy shape as what I was hitting earlier with the others. And we see 13 launch, 1950 backspin, like still low spin. And that felt not bad. If anything, maybe a little low in the head, possibly, but yeah, I think it was a fraction low toe. So I mean, this would be interesting because, okay, I didn't go quite as far left as that other one, but that came down to 4 mil low from 3 mil high. The spin goes from 19 to 22. Like, just a few millimeters of strike makes such an unbelievable difference. But again, it's good numbers. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hit a load more with the red and the black and this, and let's dive into the data. Right, so let's compare this data. My back is a little sore because I hit a lot of shots there, and I hit a lot of shots because I am completely independent, unbiased, and all I want to do is make sure I'm giving you guys factual data. So I hit a lot of shots with both, and the outliers I delete to give a good average all-round data set with each of these shafts. So we'll start off with club delivery data. Black on top, black, red, blue. Efficiency, the same. Swing speed, the same. Dynamic loft, we did see a fraction more with the red and the blue, so they were the same with the red and the blue. We did see a fraction less dynamic loft, so that's loft delivered at impact with the black, which is what it's supposed to do. It was less than a degree, but it was a little bit lower dynamic loft. From an actual delivery standpoint, my angle of attack was 6 with all of them. My path was all 4.4, 4.7. So really very comparable. I'm not a big believer that shafts change delivery. A lot of people will say heavier or lighter changes path and angle of attack. I'm not a believer in that. Face angle, the same with the red and the black. 3.7 with the blue. It was fractionally more open with the blue. And again, it was leaking a little bit more right, which we'll see in the dispersion in a minute. I did hit a few more right with the blue. I was finding it a little bit more right-sided with the blue, probably a little bit more left-sided with the black, I would say, which is what I typically would find with shaft. Something that's playing a little bit softer, I'd find leaks a little bit more right. Something that's a little bit firmer, it's easier to square up and wants to turn over a little bit more. I know that goes against conventional kind of theory and wisdom, but that's what I've found for the vast majority of people, including myself. One thing I will pinpoint is that the strike was definitely more centered for me with the red. Definitely the worst toey with the blue, and it was toeier with the black, but consistently more centered with the red. So for me, that was a really good shaft, to be honest, that red. So yeah, the only other thing really on that is dynamic lie. I mean, and again, there's half a degree in it, but the theory does kind of make sense. So we were more toe up with the black, so we were seeing kind of less droop. So when the shaft droops, it gets the toe down a little bit more. So the toe was the most down with the red and the least down with the black. Again, it's half a degree in it, which the reality of a lie angle change of half a degree with the driver is going to make absolutely no difference. But again, there's some theory that makes sense there from a dynamic loft and a dynamic lie perspective. So the big one is, let's dive into the ball data. So launch and spin, that's how all of these shafts are kind of marketed nowadays in terms of profile, in terms of what they're supposed to do to a ball flight. We know they don't really do that. We know shafts don't really spin. So what shafts are for, we'll touch on later. Ball speed, the same, 0.3 of a mile an hour in it, because we know the swing speed was the same and the efficiency was the same. Those two things are what create the ball speed. So the ball speed was virtually the same. Now again, we did see a fraction less dynamic loft with the black, so we do see the black launched slightly lower. 12.5 with the black, 13.5 with the red, 13.8 with the blue. So again, very, very comparable with the red and the blue. We did see a fraction lower launch with the black. Spin-wise, 21.4, I mean the black and the blue are identical, 21.43, 21.43, literally identical, and 2222 with the red. So we saw it's less than 100 revs in it. There's no difference in spin, like almost whatsoever. So in terms of the peak height and angle of descent, we can see that the black did fly lower, obviously because it launched lower. So the peak height of the black was 105, descent of 38.5. The blue peak height 117, descent 40.5, and the red 116, peak height 40.6 descent. So again, the blue and the red basically doing the same thing, the black flying that fraction lower. In terms of carry, no different, total no different. Dispersion, again, so it's showing there black most left, red in the middle, blue most right, which is exactly what I experienced, to be honest. The red was the straightest. So in terms of what shaft are for, is really the crux of it. The red for me, far easier for me to find strike. It was far more centered on average. Felt just like I could find strike. It was going straighter, and it was just easier to time. Easier to time, more consistent. I had to hit way more shots with the blue and the black to get a really good data set. The red was almost like on autopilot. That is shaft. Shaft ain't this. It ain't launch, it ain't spin. That's not what we're trying to do when it comes to shaft. That's head. It's basically all head. Head design and loft of head. Shaft, strike, consistency, miss, dispersion, feel, confidence, like that is shaft. So for me, that red 6X, that actually piqued my interest. That was really good. I really like that. So for me, I'm going to play a little bit more of that. So yeah, that is shaft. So I think we'll end that there. And as always, I will end on saying all of this theory, it doesn't matter if it's head, if it's shaft, if it's length, if it's lie, if it's grips, it does not matter. Do not listen to theory. You may experience something completely different to anyone else, even if they're your mate who swing the same speed and you have the same miss. If they get fit into a driver or a shaft, do not assume that will work for you. It might not, it probably won't. The only way to tell what will work for you is in-depth testing. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you thought about this test in the comments. Let me know what you want to see next. We'll be trying to bring you more content. I promise, hopefully good, entertaining, and useful content. And hopefully, I'll see you in the next one.